this is our fourth year here at DeSoto having our World War II veteran event, and kind of started off small with 2 of the veterans, and then kind of has the past 3 years been a pretty big event with up to 10 World War II veterans and Korean veterans throughout the day.
My experience was it was kind of surreal, just because we hear about these people that like in our history books, it kind of seems imaginary, but then you meet them and you shake their hand and you hear their stories, and they had families and friends that were a part of it, and suddenly it just becomes very real.
The importance of the younger generation being able to listen to personal accounts is incredibly valuable.
Yeah, so obviously I'm biased because I'm a history teacher, but just the value of living history and real people's stories. The great thing about history teaching is that we get to talk about everyday life. And unfortunately, a lot of that everyday life stuff we tie into is from the past, and there's not a lot of people who are still around to tell us what it was really like. And so while I love learning about history, I can only tell it from the perspective I've learned it, and to have people who were really there being heroes, even though they're just regular people, helping save the world and share those experiences makes it very real for me and the students as well.
The veterans were living a similar life to these students when they were called on to serve their country.
I'll read about something and it doesn't sound like it could have ever happened. Like reading about World War II and history books, it's yeah, this happened, but you never really take into account oh, those were actual people who are my age who went there. And I mean, they had families and responsibilities at home, and their whole life got flipped around. And so when you get to meet them in person, it really just becomes real that they were just kids when they went there too. So it's crazy to think oh my gosh, what if this happened to me?
Former U.S. Navy pilot Lieutenant Commander Bob South is happy to share his story.
I enjoyed it, and I think the people I talked with are very attentive, and I think they appreciated hearing some of the stories. If you can bring some people to talk to them, I think it's worth more than just reading it in a book.
What the veterans did for this country and world at such a young age cannot be overlooked.
Understanding that freedom isn't free, and that these people, while great-grandpas now and great-grandmas now, and tender and sweet and all those things, they were like us at one point, not very long ago really, and they rose to the challenge and did incredible things and were superheroes, whether you'd realize it or not, just because they did what they were needed to do, and that's pretty incredible. So I think making that connection and realizing that even if I don't have these strengths that everybody else seems to have, I don't have to be anything but myself, and I can still do great things and contribute, and that's what they've done.
DHS is honored and privileged to host these American heroes and be able to hear the stories of the greatest generation.